Welcome to SAVE Training. My name is Karen Bishop, and I'm an attorney with the department. I'm going to talk to you about the Beeson-Hammond Alabama Taxpayer and Citizen Protection Act, also known as the Immigration Law. This law was signed into law on June 9, 2011. The purpose of the law is to discourage illegal immigration. This law does three things. It declares unlawfully present aliens to be ineligible to receive certain public benefits or to obtain licenses or permits from state or local agencies. It requires employers to verify citizenship or lawful presence of its employees and makes it illegal to enter into a contract with an unlawfully present alien. Our concern here is with the licensing and permitting component. And with regard to licensing and permitting, it requires that an alien who is not lawfully present is not allowed to enter into a business transaction with the state. Every person entering into a business transaction must demonstrate U.S. citizenship or lawful presence in the United States. And a business transaction includes licenses or permits issued by the department. This law only affects the licensing and permitting of individuals and sole proprietorships. It does not impact the licensing or permitting of other types of business entities. An applicant for a license or permit is the individual to whom a license or permit is issued, not necessarily the person who is signing or submitting the application. It is the applicant's citizenship or lawful presence that must be determined. This is what you need to do to determine the type of business entity. First, you want to check the application for the name of the business. If you see Inc. or LLC or LLP following the name of the business, that indicates the business is a type of entity that is not a sole proprietorship. For the Bureau of Environmental Services, we have recently changed the food establishment permit to include checkboxes where the applicant can check the box and indicate what type of business entity they have. If that is filled out on the form, you can rely on that. If it is not checked and you cannot tell what type of business structure this company is, then you need to require the applicant to provide the legal name of the business and also tell them they need to fill out the Declaration of Business Structure. And then you should know, based on that information, whether or not it is a sole proprietorship. Let's take a look at the following skit.
Good morning.
Hey.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I need to renew my restaurant permit.
All right. The application fee is $100, and I will need your completed application form.
Okay. Do you have a form I can use?
Yes, I do.
All right. Yep. On the Mark Barbecue. Best barbecue in the South, by the way.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. You need to come see me sometime. I'll give you a special.
Wow.
All right. There you go.
Okay. Okay, it says your company name is On the Mark Barbecue.
That's right.
But it doesn't indicate the corporate structure. You will need to complete this Declaration of Business Ownership Structure form, please.
What is this? I've never had to do this before.
Okay. This is a state law that requires ADPH to verify U.S. citizenship or lawful presence of any person or sole proprietor that applies for a license or permit. That's why we need your business corporate structure.
Well, my business is an LLC, so that's what I checked on here. Is there anything else I need to fill out?
No, ma'am. That's all I need.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a nice day.
You too.
In this skit, the clerk did exactly what they needed to do. Here, the business entity was not indicated on the application. And so they explained the requirement to the person who had come in, and they gave the person the business declaration form to fill out. This person stated the company was an LLC, and therefore the declaration did not apply to this business. To verify U.S. citizenship or lawful presence, the applicant must complete a declaration form. They also must provide documents to demonstrate U.S. citizenship. If the person is an alien, they must provide documents demonstrating they are lawfully present in the country, and their lawful presence must be verified through the SAVE program. The department must rely on the documents provided by the applicant and the determinations that are made by SAVE. Determinations of U.S. citizenship or lawful presence cannot be made based upon race, color, or national origin. When you're looking at the declaration form, this document must be submitted when a person is initially applying for a license or if they are renewing a license. Please make sure that all sections of the form are completed. If the application is not properly filled out and the documentation is not provided, you may not issue a license. Their application will be considered incomplete. It's important to include the full name and date of birth on the declaration form. You also must note the type of document that is being provided to prove either citizenship or lawful presence. The applicant must sign and date the form, and the employee receiving the form must also sign it. If an applicant declares that they are a U.S. citizen, he or she must present a document demonstrating citizenship from List A. You're going to have all of these handouts. We're going to be sending them out to you separately. There is a List A that has a list of documents that are acceptable to verify citizenship, and there is a List B that is a list of documents to verify lawful presence. So when you are looking at these applications, you need to make sure that the documentation provided is on either List A or List B. In terms of demonstrating citizenship, a valid Alabama driver's license is acceptable. A driver's license from another state may not be. And the reason that's the case, not all states require a person to provide proof of citizenship in order to get a driver's license. Alabama does, and we are going to be looking at the laws of the surrounding states so we can let you know ahead of time whether or not those driver's licenses are acceptable. So for example, we'll do Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi. If you get a driver's license from another state, then you're going to need to contact us and we can look and see if that's a valid form of documentation. Another thing that's important is you need to have a legible copy of the document. So someone may send in a copy of their driver's license with their application, but if you can't read it, either because it's too dark or too light, then you need to let them know that they didn't give you a legible copy, and you cannot process that application until you have something that you can actually read and look at. One of our obligations under this law is to look at the documentation provided and see if it appears to be genuine. So if you have any reason to think that the driver's license doesn't look right, then you should send any kind of those questions up here to us. The most common form of documentation you probably will receive is a driver's license. There are a number of other documents that a person can provide. That could be a passport or a birth certificate. But in any event, when you're looking at these documents, if you have any questions or concerns about whether they're valid, please send them up and we can take a look at them and we can help you out with that. If the declaration form is properly completed and acceptable documentation has been provided, then you can issue a permit to a U.S. citizen. You must maintain the declaration form and a copy of the document that they provided to you in the client file. And a declaration is only required to be provided one time. That means that you need to develop a system in your local health department where you can document that a person has declared citizenship so that you don't ask them to do it another time. Let's take a look at the following skit.
Hello, how are you doing today? How may I help you?
I'm good. Is this the right place for me to renew my hotel permit?
It is. Are you applying for that permit as an individual or as a company?
I own my own company.
Wonderful. Let me get that paperwork for you. Please complete this declaration and provide us with documentation from List A.
Declaration of U.S. citizenship or lawful presence of an alien? What is this paperwork?
We have new legislation here, new laws here in Alabama, Let me go over it with you just a little bit. There's a state law that requires ADPH to verify the U.S. citizenship or lawful presence of any person or sole proprietor that applies for a license or permit.
You know what? It ain't none of your business.
Ma'am, I have to follow the law.
What person in their right mind carries their birth certificate?
Well, there are a number of documents that you can use to show to prove. There are a number of documents that we can accept. Do you have a driver's license or a passport with you, maybe?
No, and I never had to have them before.
Well, ma'am, I'm sorry, but let me tell you what I can do. I can hold all of your paperwork here at the desk, and as soon as you come back, you'll be the first one in line.
You have wasted an hour of my time standing in this line, and then you telling me to come back to show citizenship.
Yes, ma'am. Stupid. Thank you, and have a great day.
In this skit, a person has come in to renew their hotel permit, and they did not bring any documentation with them. It appears they were unaware of this requirement. And here the clerk did the correct thing. They explained that this is a state law requirement, and although the person was upset, I think they did a good job of explaining that you only have to do this one time, and I'm unable to process your application without it. And although the person was upset, I think the clerk did an excellent job explaining what this law requires. If you have a declaration where someone is stating that they are a lawfully present alien, they must provide a document from List B that demonstrates they're lawfully here. Federal law requires non-citizens 18 years or older to have immigration documentation in their possession at all times. Acceptable forms of documentation are found in List B, and they include green cards. Again, a legible copy of the documentation that has a photograph of the bearer can be accepted. These are a couple of examples of different immigration documents. I'm going to guess that you may not have seen a lot of immigration documents. What you want to look for when you're filling out the SAVE form to send this up for verification, you want to look at the title of the document, and you want to see if there is any type of alien identification number on the document. And again, you want to look at the document and make sure that it appears to be genuine and it's not forged. Most of the non-citizen registration documents can be photocopied. You may at some point see a document that has a warning not to photocopy the document. If you see that, don't copy the document, but please do write down all of the pertinent information on the form and make a note that it has a do not photocopy warning on it. And that will help up here at the Bureau when they are running the SAVE verification. The information that you want to include from the document is the name of the applicant, the date of birth, the alien registration number. If the applicant declares that they're lawfully present and they provide appropriate supporting documentation, there's a SAVE information form you will need to complete. You will need to send that form and the supporting documentation to the designated SAVE user for your office so that they can verify the person is lawfully present. Now, there are 3 bureaus that are affected by this licensing requirement: the Office of Radiation Control, the Office of Emergency Medical Services, and the Bureau of Environmental Services. And we have a listing of all of the different permits that this applies to, which you also have. So each office or bureau will have a SAVE contact and someone who is authorized to use SAVE for the bureau. So you want to send that information to your appropriate contact in Montgomery. They are going to run the information through SAVE, and then there is a SAVE response section on the SAVE information form. They will complete that section, and they are going to return it to you. You need to keep that completed form in the client's file. And again, depending on the immigration status, you may have some immigration documents that expire at certain times. You may have other immigration documents that are indefinite, like if a person has become a naturalized citizen, for example. So you need to make a note of whether or not this is a permanent status or whether or not it has an expiration. But in any event, you should not ask for additional proof of authorization to be here during the time that this form is in effect. So if you have a permanent lawful resident, then you should not ask for a declaration again. If you have someone who's here for, say, 2 years, you can make a note that their declaration expires on whatever date. But you will need to have a system again in your office to make sure you're not asking for this declaration more often than is required. Now, for the Bureau of Environmental Services, if you have a SAVE form that needs to be sent up here, there are 3 people to send it to. You need to send it to Mark Sestak, to Phyllis Finn, and to Maria Alexander. And they are going to make every effort to send you a completed form back by 3 o'clock the same day you send it up. There are some instances where the Immigration Service will have to do additional investigation, so you may not have an instantaneous response. But for the most part, these responses are supposed to be instantaneous once they're put in through the system. Let's take a look at this final skit.
Yes. Everyone tells me I need a septic tank pumper's permit from the health department. Is this the right place?
Yes, it is. Here is the form that you need to fill out. Are you applying for this permit as an individual or as a part of a company?
I'm applying for myself.
Okay, then you will also need to fill out this form and provide one of the documents listed on this page. If you are a U.S. citizen, you'll fill out Section 2, and if you're not a U.S. citizen, you'll fill out Section 3.
Okay. Well, I have my documents.
Okay. I'm sorry, ma'am. This doesn't look like you at all.
I'm so sorry. That's my son's. Here's mine.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to make a copy of this for the file, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. We're going to verify this through our SAVE program, and then we'll be able to process your application in about 30 days.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too.
In this skit, the clerk did a number of things very well that I'd like to point out to you. First, the person did not assume that this person was an immigrant. They asked the person, when they're doing the form, they said, okay, you need to fill out Section A if you're a citizen, or Section B if you're a lawfully present alien. So that's important, not to assume that someone might be illegal based on their race or their national origin. The second thing that the person did is they looked at their identification and saw that they had initially given the clerk the wrong form of identification. So it's important that the clerk looked and noticed that that was incorrect. If an applicant presents an expired document or is unable to present any type of immigration documentation showing their immigration status, do not issue a permit until the necessary documentation is provided. If for any reason the verification through SAVE is delayed or is inconclusive, the law provides the alien is eligible to receive a permit in the interim period if he or she signs the declaration indicating that they are lawfully present in the United States. There's an important non-discrimination provision in the law that I want to make sure that you understand. An applicant's eligibility for a permit cannot be based upon their race, color, or national origin. It is important that you do not single out individuals who look or sound foreign for closer scrutiny or require them to provide more documentation of citizenship or immigration than what is required by the law. So that means if someone comes into your office and they're applying for a permit and they give you a driver's license, and say, for example, they might be Hispanic, you are not allowed to require them to provide a birth certificate too. You need to take the documentation that was provided. As long as it appears to be genuine, you are to rely on the documentation provided and do not require anyone else to submit more documentation. All decisions about U.S. citizenship are based only on the documentation provided. The verification of lawful presence of an alien can only be made by the United States government through the SAVE program. That is why we are having you copy the documentation, fill out the form, and send it up here, because we have designated certain users in the Bureau who are going to submit this documentation through the SAVE program to determine whether or not the person is lawfully present. Now, if we run someone's documentation through SAVE and it comes back that they are not lawfully present, they have an opportunity to appeal that decision if it is incorrect. So the Office of General Counsel will be setting up an appeal process, if needed, so that someone can challenge their immigration status. Thank you very much for your time. I know this is going to be a big endeavor when it first rolls out, but please do call us if you have any questions, and I hope that this is a pleasant and smooth experience for all of you.